Hi, I'm Joanne Varble. I am Director of Software-Defined Storage Engineering at Dell, and my team really primary responsibility is working with our partners to make sure that our Dell PowerEdge servers are the platform of choice for SDS solutions. One of the key partners we do work with is Nutanix to build out our portfolio of the XC product line. The PowerEdge servers are actually a great starting base for us. They have a good stronghold in the market. We're number 2 worldwide, have a large global engineering team that ensures that it's a good quality, catches many issues proactively before it ever released, and is constantly monitoring in the field to make sure if there are any issues, it's caught early and addressed. So it's a great platform for us to start with and build our software-defined storage solutions, but it definitely can be optimized, and that's where my team and our partners come in. As Louis said, I have about 8 years of experience at Dell building appliances. When we started doing our M&As with Ocarina and Aperture, we started putting together appliances with their software, marrying it with their Dell PowerEdge servers. And in that time, we learned a lot. And so what we're doing with our software-defined storage is trying to bring those learnings and some of the additional software that we developed to enhance kind of deployment, manageability, serviceability into software-defined storage. Some of the key things that we focus on with our vendors and our partners when we build these solutions is making sure we get the right hardware components and we right size it for the workloads that we're trying to optimize for. With software-defined storage, especially hyper-converged, it's interesting because you can't have like some appliance small, medium, and large configurations. You have to have several configurations because you're optimizing for your compute, your storage, and cost all on the same node across many different workloads. So I'll talk a little bit about our XC offerings. We have 5 different PowerEdge platforms that we have enabled for the XC with the Nutanix software. As we work with our vendors and partners and understand what their software dependencies are on the hardware, we also work with our PowerEdge server team to make sure that we pick the right components. With the XC in particular, when we went to enable the PowerEdge servers, there were a couple requirements that Nutanix had that we had to make some changes to the servers and bring some components in. Specifically, we brought in a SATA DOM for our boot device, and we also, at the time, the server team did not have a pure HBA, SAS HBA, so we brought the LSI channel HBA in and really purpose-built our PowerEdge servers for the XC appliance. So making sure we've got that, and as Louis said, not all SSDs are created equal. So we really have looked at what are the right criteria to use around performance when we bring in new SSDs and how that relates to software-defined storage and our partners. So making sure we've got the right platform with the right components and that are optimized for performance and price, and also validating end-to-end. We do a lot of co-validation with our partners between Nutanix, us, and then we highly leverage, and I can't stress enough how much we leverage the validation that's done by our PowerEdge server team. We have had several learnings as we've gone through this journey, and we're able to feed those back to the PowerEdge server team, both on issues that we find, like Louis alluded to with one of our key OSs hypervisors that we offer for the XC, but also as we find certain hardware that we believe can help optimize and make a better product, driving that into the next generation servers and making that part of their standard offering too. Sizing tools are really important. We work with Nutanix and ourselves to make sure we have the right sizing tools. It's very important to get it right and make sure that the product you buy is going to meet the expectations. And like I said, we have several different offerings on the XC, so we can address the storage-intensive workloads, the compute-intensive workloads. If you need a dense box, we've got an offering there too. And then we also support 3 different hypervisors. Microsoft, Hyper-V, VMware, ESXi, and also Nutanix has their Acropolis hypervisor, AHV, that we support. One of our other big focuses is how do we make the deployment, management, and service ability of these products easier for our customers. Because we have OEM partnerships with our OS vendors, we're able to provide not just the hardware, but also the entire software stack to our customers. And we enable that in the factory. Our strategy around our appliances is to do as much as we can of the configuration in the factory, so we really reduce time to value once it gets to the customer site. So with Nutanix, we fully install our OS, and we also have the Nutanix installer ready to run. So you get on site, you boot it up, it runs through some initial first boot steps, and then you're ready to join the cluster and get going. We also have an SDK. One of the things that we have with integrating our manageability of the hardware into the software is providing a good, consistent API for our software vendors and partners to utilize. So we provide a SDK that allows them to easy integrate. You can update your hardware components. You can monitor it and get statuses and all of the rich features to understand what's going on with your storage and your server components. They now have access to, and it stays consistent over generations of servers. So, as you change components underneath, they'll still manage it the same way as they do with the servers today. We also focus on really recoverability. If you have issues in the field and you need to recover your appliance. When we did our DL appliance with our Aperture, we actually built out some technology that we call RAZR, Rapid Appliance Self-Recovery. And what that really enabled you to do is we took a snapshot of the server before it left the factory with the entire software stack installed, and we were able to very quickly do a bare metal recovery based on that with tools we developed. We also integrated that. That was a product that was based on Microsoft, so we actually integrated that with backup and recovery and could recover to one point in time, any point in time recovery. So we're taking that same technology and we're adapting it to our SDS. As a matter of fact, with Nutanix, we already have a bare metal recovery where you can easily recover to where you started in the factory, which really helps proof of concepts. If you want to get an XC and do a proof of concept and you want to try out, ESX, and then go try, Acropolis hypervisor, and then go, no, I want to go back, no problem. You can easily reset it back to the factory. Within 20 minutes, you're back to your system. If you want to do the proof of concept and then you decide I'm ready to go into production, quick, easy way to refresh it.
All right, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Very much what you've talked about so far is what I could do if I was going to buy a hardware product, or Nutanix could have done themselves by going to you as a vendor. Mm-hmm. What are you doing and how do you work with them to look 3 years into the future they might think their product will evolve into, and how perhaps your product and their product should evolve towards what they think they might target themselves towards?
That's a really good question. This past year with Nutanix, we really focused on trying to get an equivalent product offering on the Dell PowerEdge servers with what they offer. This year, we're really shifting that focus. Now that we got our product line, fully out there, and built out, we're shifting our focus to what's next. We are definitely in discussions with them, and we're also partnering with Intel on some of their next generation technologies and what impact and advantages can it have with Nutanix Stack. As Louis alluded, we're also working with LSI or Broadcom now on diagnostics. We want to bring in much richer storage subsystem diagnostics than what we have today. It definitely is a partnership. We meet with them weekly. I know we've got coming up in March where we're going to go there and have a 2-day session on what the futures look like.
Okay, and a second question that might be slightly more controversial.
Okay.
Nutanix isn't the only partner that you deal with this sort of technology, and there's a number of other companies that you do SDS type plays with. Mm-hmm. Who drives who? So, is it that does somebody like Nutanix drive innovation that you find can then be used by the other vendors? Are you all effectively cooperating and helping each other indirectly without realizing it?
No, we actually are very careful about that and keep in silos. My team works directly with Nutanix, so I don't have a lot of visibility into the roadmaps of other SDS partners. Okay. With that said, the software components that I talked about around bare metal recovery, deployment, and stuff like that, we actually are enabling as SDKs and providing them to all software partners. So they all have access to that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It's worked on both sides too, as far as the importance of an OEM agreement. At one point in time, Nutanix, the virtual storage controller, only existed on one SSD. So it was actually when we came to Dell, part of their serviceability story, needed it to be on 2, so it's now rated. And so there are back and forth that helps out both sides.
Yeah, the reason that I was asking that question is it's not always obvious whether the software is leading the hardware or the hardware is leading the software, or whether they're both working together. And it sounds like you're on the start of that journey almost to a certain degree.
We are. And, when we first established our relationship with Nutanix, we were very surprised. They're well down that path. They have a good holistic product. They've got cluster level management. They already had some integration with the hardware management. So they were well down that path. Some of our other SDS vendors are not nearly that far. So I think there's a lot of good opportunity there to improve those. But with Nutanix, now we're really looking at how do we bring in the new technologies and make it even better. There were some minor things that I think when we went through the product initially that we discussed. Hey, based on our support group and the way Dell process do things, we need to make some changes and improvements. It's probably one of the best partners that I've worked with here at Dell. Great engineering team. Very open to ideas in both directions, and willing to even take some of our ideas and bring those into their products to improve. So, any other questions? Okay.
I'd like to add on to that. I didn't talk about strategy, and I think that's a great question. We isolate. I got several teams. I have a Microsoft team. I have a Scality team. I've got a Nutanix team. But the other thing is, what I'm trying to achieve from a strategy standpoint, I want Dell to be the best platform for any software to find. And so we're building these tools. We're making these investments. I think we're light years ahead of any other hardware provider because of the work that Joanne's done, and she's described a lot of it here. At the same time, I want the relationship between my teams and the software partners to be a great relationship. In fact, I tell my partners this. In a year from now, like I just kicked off a relationship with Scality recently. I said, in a year from now, when I come back here, I said, here's my litmus test about my team. I want you to tell me you're the best team in the industry to work with. And we do that by having the right people, the right knowledge, and the right strategy. So just to add on, the software is where all the intelligence is, right? The hardware's responsibility is really about just being stable enough to not get in the way of the software. At the same time, we have ideas, and we work with other partners like Intel. We'll bring those into all these relationships. But Joanne said it, not everybody's on the same trajectory. Some people are just entering the market.
So I disagree with you that all the intelligence is in the software, because you've already pointed out that you've gone for specific hardware components, specifically SSDs and so on. Now, there must be intelligence that are in those components that are, although they're software-based, I suppose, in the firmware, but there is intelligence in those products, and you're leveraging specific products, and you're talking to those vendors to get that hardware right. So some of the intelligence is in that hardware, otherwise you wouldn't have done that in the first place.
Yeah, I agree with you. We call it hardening, right? We have to harden that storage stack, including those disk drives and things, to not get in the way of the software. When I mean intelligence, I mean more about your business operations and how you run.
Functionality and features, I'd say, without a doubt, are in the software.
All right, I'll quit piling on.
No problem. And it's not just engineering, I want to add, that works very closely with Nutanix on this product. Our marketing and sales teams have very tight interaction and often go approach customers together. I already talked a little bit about the engineering teams, and then the support team is another huge leg in this that makes this product successful. Because Dell has OEM agreements with our hypervisor vendors, we actually sell and support not just the hardware, but the entire stack, software stack itself. So if the customer has a problem, whether it's with Nutanix software, it's ESX, our Dell support team is trained to handle that. We have specialized queues, so the minute they call in and provide the service tag, it's recognized as an XE product, and it's directed to specialized service personnel that are very trained and aware and ready to react and address the issues. Through our collaborative support agreements, we're able to bring in our other vendors to help triage and address the issues as needed. So, I think between the marketing, sales, and engineering and services, we've got a really good relationship with Nutanix and are providing a very good offering for our customers in this hyperconverged space with our XC.